Hello, we are Chris, Arthur, and Rustam. And for our song, for our studio recording assignment, we have chosen to do an original of Arthur's. And currently, it only consists of guitar, vocals, and pre programmed drums that were recorded from an actual drum kit. However, that is all down to change. So, step one, what did we do? We got our Pro Tools and we were interested in getting our samples from their separated sample file audio files into Battery. And initially, we had some struggles while getting the drums into Battery. That is because Battery is a little bit finicky and it requires you to manually select where the files are. But once we worked out how to do that, we were fine. We were fine.
Okay, nice. So, as Rasta just explained previously, we decided to make things simple and just record a track that was written by Arthur. The song so far just has a simple verse-chorus structure with a drum intro, but we are planning to expand it for A2. Just kind of, in terms of structure and just the length of the song, add a bit more variation and things like that. The track features some programmed drums using Battery. The samples were recorded from a real drum kit though, as well as an acoustic and an electric guitar part as well as a vocal track. When moving on to A2, we may also try to add additional instruments such as a bass guitar or keys. That's the plan. Obviously what actually happens, but hopefully we can do that to add, a bit more tonal variety and variation. Okay, so the first thing we did instrumentally is lay down the drum track. We got the drum hits from Battery, which were recorded from a real drum kit, and we programmed just a simple kick and snare groove to accompany the guitar. We also decided on a 4-bar drum intro just to kind of start the song off. And when thinking about the drums, we kind of wanted to add a little bit of variation. We didn't want just the same beat, even though we wanted to keep it simple, so we added a little bit of dynamic variation, such as using a closed hi-hat on the quieter versey bits, and then when opening up for the sort of choruses and the louder sections, opening the hi-hat. Something simple, but it works in my opinion. Once we wrote the initial groove, we then copy and pasted it throughout the track, whilst adding a few embellishments, such as like a few drum fills and everything, just to kind of spice things up. And then that was the track completed. The only thing is, although Battery 4 did allow us to create a track that adequately mirrors the sound of a normal kit, it's still not ideal. The production expert explains that the Battery 4 sample pack is supposed to be used for things like dance music, and not this, which is like pop rock sort of stuff, But yeah.
So, recording guitar. The acoustic guitar was recorded with 2 SM58 microphones. One microphone is placed halfway along the fretboard, angled towards where the chords are being played, to capture the authentic sound of an acoustic guitar that people would expect to hear, because it's not all about the second microphone on the sound hole. It's also about capturing the sounds of the fingers on the strings, and that's visible in the picture. And then the second microphone, obviously, facing the sound hole of the guitar. This is, of course, where I'll be playing as well, so it's important to make sure that the microphone is placed slightly further away to accommodate the space needed for the hand strumming, and also to make sure there's no air disruption sounds that get picked up that might spoil the recording. When it came to recording the vocals, only one microphone was needed, fairly standard, another SM58, and there was no pop shield available on this microphone. I recorded it at home, and I just decided to make sure there was enough space between me and the microphone when singing, to avoid any further air disruption sounds, as well as to accommodate for the lack of a pop shield. So I left it about hand's length away and did a couple of takes in different ranges away from the microphone. Decided that was perfect for what I wanted to achieve, and to make sure that it didn't pick up any sounds that were disrupting the recording that we wanted.
So, as of right now, our small demo, which only consists of vocals, drums, and guitar, has been kept dry. Now, this is for 2 reasons. One, because we ended up becoming behind schedule and we didn't have enough time, but also there just wasn't that much to mix. Like, the track currently as it stands is fairly very straightforward. So when it comes to the actual final product, the final song, it's going to have a lot more embellishments. We may even utilize some actual physical recording processors, audio processors, you never know. And yeah.
Okay, so that was basically what we did for A1, I suppose. But before we kind of finish this, just want to kind of talk about what we're actually going to progress with this, what we're doing for A2, how are we turning this demo into a full track. So, well, I mean, it says right here, for A2, we will be transforming this track from an incomplete demo to a fully fledged track, basically. That is the plan. How are we going to do this, though? This is how we're going to do it. I'm going to explain it to you. So one of the first things we're going to do is expand the instrumentation. One of the instruments we are thinking about including is a bass guitar. You know, we've got the drums, but we don't have the bass. And, you know, obviously a bass will add more depth to the track. If we were to record a bass guitar, we would most likely use a DI. No treble explains that using a DI matches the impedance of both the input and output source, which creates a nice clean tone. And something that is usually necessary for bass, obviously it depends on the track, but definitely for something like this, indie pop rock, a nice clean tone is necessary. No treble also explains that using a DI can emit a lower frequency response, which helps create a lower tone and a more bold sound, which can, you know, create a nice contrast with the sort of more trebly sort of sounding guitar that is featured on this track. And in addition to this, we might also try and add keys. It really depends on how much time we have. The guitar, I mean, the bass guitar is definitely one of the more important instruments we want to add to this track, but we might also add keys. Additionally, we may also add a second guitar track. To record said guitar track, we probably use a condenser microphone this time instead of a dynamic. Tick Studios explains that dynamic microphones tend to have a more focused and aggressive sound as opposed to a condenser mic, which has a more wide and ambient sound. Recording a second guitar track with a condenser could create, you know, a nice contrast with the direct and precise sounds of the other guitar tracks that had a dynamic microphone. So we could have a wide sound and a more precise sound, which would sound kind of cool. We're also looking to expand the structure of the song and spend more time working on certain production techniques such as EQ and compression to create a more polished sound.
And we're now going to play the demo right now.